Hello everyone and welcome back to VoIP Knowledge. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to configure Grandstream FXS device with FXO device. So I have HT814 and HT881 FXO device, and as you can see in the picture, we have HT881 and 88114. So the HT881, which is a FXO device, is either connect to analog PBX, TDM PBX, or the PSTN line, and the other hand, HT814 is connected to the analog phones. So this scenario can be used when you want to use analog line on the other location, either can be through the radio link or through the VPN, or by using public IP address on both the devices. So both of the device should be configured with the fixed IP address of either your LAN network or with your public IP address. So I have HT881 and HT814. So I have configured the device with the fixed IP address. So to configure the fixed IP address in the device, you need to navigate on the network setting, Ethernet setting, and select here IP address mode as static mode, and give the IP address of your LAN network or the public IP address. Similarly, on the FXS device, in the basic setting option, we need to set the IP address on the WAN port. So here you can see I have set static mode and given the IP address in the static mode. So it is mandatory you have to set the static mode and give the fixed IP address or the public IP address for the configuration between two of the devices. So first of all, I'm going to create SIP trunk between the devices, and to configure the SIP trunk between FXS device HT814, we need to go into the profile 1 option, and in the primary SIP server option we have to enter the IP address of HT881 and the by default SIP port of FXO port on HT881 is 6060. As you can see here, the FXO profile port is 6060. Similarly, I can show you from the FXO profile 1 SIP setting, the local SIP port is 6060. So we have to enter the 6060 as well with the colon, and after that we need to disable SIP registration, or you need to set it to no mode. Now click on the apply and need to set now here the user ID on the FXS port. You can leave it as blank as well, but for identification in the CDR or the history, we are setting here some setting on each port 10, 20, 30 and 40, 40. Now apply. So this way we have set the configuration HT814 FXS device. Now we'll configure in HT881. So on the FXO profile 1, I'm going to put the IP address of HT814 FXS device here, and the IP address is 3.50 and the SIP port is 5060. Let me show you. On the profile 1 and the local SIP port is set to 5060. Same I have set here. Now save and apply. Now click on the SIP setting and we have to uncheck the SIP registration mode since we are doing peer-to-peer configuration without any PBX, and the other options should be left as it is and no changes required on the other settings. And in the FXO termination option, we need to set the FXO number of rings. So it is for incoming call on the trunk line FXO port. So by default the value is 4 and I'm setting to 2. So after the 2 ring it will forward the call on FXS device, and we need to uncheck this option PSTN ring through FXS. Now save and apply. Similarly, in channel dialing, this is for outgoing, so we have to disable wait for dial tone and stage method 1. Instead of setting 2, we need to set it to 1. So we have configured peer trunk between the device. Okay, so here we have set outbound parameters, we have set inbound parameters here, and now we have two ways to dial outside from FXS to FXO. The first one is one-to-one mapping, means from FXS device we can select any of the trunk line connected on the FXO device by just dialing the prefix and the port number with external number. So to enable this one-to-one mapping feature between HT814 FXS ports and HT881 FXO ports, we need to set the dial plan prefix to 99 in HT881. So in the system setting basic setting option, first of all we have to set the prefix to specify FXO port 99, and on the port setting profile 1 and call setting dial plan prefix is set to 99. So we have set 99 on the two locations. And in addition to above, we have to enable hunting group on FXO ports of HT881. So here we need to enable hunting group. So on the first port we have to select as active, and rest of the port we have to select 1. So all of the ports are under first port. And To forward the all trunk line calls on FXS device, we have to set the configuration here. So like we set the FXO FXS ports here, same we have to set here caller ID 10, 20, 30, 40 and the IP address of HT814 FXS device. As we have 4 port FXS device, so I'm setting on the 4 ports, and 5060 will send the call on the first port of FXS, and for the second port we have to set it to 5062. Similarly for the third port set it to 5064, and the fourth port we have to set it to 5066. So call coming on the FXO 1 port will forward on the first port of the FXS device with the caller ID 10, and similarly any call coming on the second port of the FXO will forward to the this IP address on this port, and so on for the fourth port similarly. Now save and apply. Now we can access the FXO port of HT881 by dialing the prefix plus port number and the external number or EPBX extension number. Now considering the example, the user tries to make an outgoing call to an external number 569300 via the HT881 FXO port 1. So the user should add the prefix 991 to external call number. In this case, the user will dial 99156693300, where 99 represents prefix, 1 represents as a port number, and 569300 represents external number. Once received, HT881 gateway will strip off 991 from the dial number, and it will send rest of the number to the FXO port. Now FXO will route the call to port 1 and make a call to 5669300 over the PSTN network connected to FXO 1, and this is the flow how the call will process. So the caller dial 991 number and it reaches to the FXS port 1 and then reach to the FXO device, and FXO remove 991 and dial number, and it will reach to the external caller. Now it's time for demo. So let me show you the demo of this configuration for one-to-one mapping. So on HT881 I have connected 2 trunk lines, and similarly on HT814 I have connected 1 analog phone on the first port, and now I'm going to make call from analog phone. So now to access the trunk FXO 1 port of the HT881 from the FXS 1, I'm dialing the code 991 and 902 extension number. So call is going on the phone from 1001 caller ID. This is the EPBX extension 1001, and same you can see in the status. So if I refresh, so you can see the in use first FXO port, and now I'll show you for how to dial from the second port of the trunk line. So to use second port of the FXO device,
992 and 902 external number. So call is coming from the different CLI, and you can check the port status. Now trunk 2 port is used.
So as we have seen the demo of one-to-one mapping, now I'll show you the configuration of port-to-port mapping. So in port-to-port mapping, FXS device ports will be mapped to the FXO ports. So HT814 FXS first port will be mapped to the HT881 FXO first port. Similarly, second port of the FXS device will be mapped to the second port of FXO device, and third port of FXS device will be mapped to the third port of FXO device, and fourth port will be mapped to the fourth port of FXO device. And so for this we need to modify the dial plan in HT814 FXS device. So let me copy this and we'll paste this dial plan in the HT814 under the profile 1, and I'll search for the dial plan here. So dial plan we have to replace with the new dial plan, and now save and apply. Now what will happen if FXS1 device call outside? So it will add 991 itself from the FXS device before the number and forward to the FXO device first port. For example, the user dials 5669300 from his analog phone which is connected to the port 1. HT814 will append this number with the appropriate dial plan configured. Once received at the HT881 gateway, the gateway will strip off 991 from the dialed number. Then HT881 will route the call to port 1 and make call to 5669300 over the PSTN network connected to the FXO1 port. So this is the flow for this port to port dialing, and now it's the time to demo. So now I'll show you how it works.
So now for port to port dialing, we just need to dial the number, and like I'm just dialing 902. So call is going from the FXO1 port of the device, and I'll show you from the port. So first port in use. If I replace the port on to analog phone and dial the same number, it will use the second port of FXO device. So you can see the call is coming from the different number, and same we can check on the FXO device. So you can see here FXO2 is in use now.
So by this way you can also configure your devices in the same way, and you can achieve the same methods, either one mapping or port to port dialing option. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe the channel and let me know if you want me to create a video on some other VoIP devices. I'll create and post on the YouTube. So please like, share and comment. I'll be waiting for your response. Thank you guys.